Tonight I'm going to be talking about going to the bathroom while carrying a gun. I know this sounds like a really funny topic, but I've been asked a couple times to do something along the lines of kind of a bathroom CCW video, and at first I really discredited the topic because I thought it's silly. You know, it's silly to have to explain to someone how to go to the bathroom and carry a gun, or so I thought. Then I started kind of doing a little bit of research into your accidental discharge and your negligent discharges while carrying concealed, and a large number of them actually take place in the bathroom, which kind of surprised me and at the same time made me aware that maybe this is a subject that needs to be addressed. Yes, some people figure it out on their own, obviously, but some people don't, and that's why I'm making this video. There are 3 things you want to avoid while going to the bathroom and carrying a gun. And that is, you want to avoid a drop, you want to avoid a discharge, and you want to avoid being detected. So now, before anyone thinks that they're going to get some serious like striptease action going on or something, I am wearing exercise pants underneath of my regular pants so that you can see exactly how this is going to happen without being improper. So first we are going to talk about avoiding a drop. And the first thing you need to consider as far as avoiding a drop is just leaving your gun alone. I have my Glock here. It's already been checked. It's unloaded. All the magazines that I'm using are unloaded magazines, as you can see there, and there, and gun is unloaded, which I guess I could show you. Unloaded magazine, nothing in the magazine, nothing in the chamber, unloaded firearm. So, okay, so we've got an unloaded gun, unloaded magazines, and I also have a knife, which I would normally carry in my setup as well. So, the first thing you want to do to avoid a drop is just to leave your gun alone. Don't play with it, don't mess with it, don't take it out of its holster, just don't do anything with it. And the second thing you want to have is good quality gear. And this is important because when you're taking your pants off, obviously, or when you're loosening your belt, obviously things are going to be looser around the waist than they normally would be. And having good quality gear will make it sure that your gear, your gun, your magazines, your knife, are not going to fall out and onto the ground and embarrass you or end up bouncing in the stall next to you. And one of the ways that you can make sure that you have good quality gear is to have a holster that is made specifically for your gun. It's fit to completely conceal your gun and hold your gun snugly. Same with your magazines and your sheath. If you cannot do this with your gear and not have to worry about it falling out, you don't have good gear. If you can't do this, if you do this with any other holster, any other mag pouch, any other knife sheath, and your gear falls out, you need to get new gear. You should be able to do this and even shake it and not have anything fall out and hit the ground, like this would. This poor quality holster that is not fit for this gun won't hold the gun. You have this on, which is just a simple one-size-fits-all IWB. You have this on your waistband. You drop your pants. There is a high chance that could happen. And then, of course, there is the question of what do you do if it drops? Let's say by some miraculous happenstance, my gun were to fall out of the holster and hit the ground. What do? Don't panic. And don't try to catch it. A lot of accidents happen that way. If it falls, let it fall. You run less of a chance of having a negligent discharge by letting it fall and hit the floor than you do by trying to catch it. If you try to catch a falling gun, you can very easily get your finger in the trigger guard. If you're dropping it and you grab it, and a lot of times you grab a lot harder than you think you are, you can end up with a negligent discharge. Don't try to catch your gun if it falls, just let it fall. Stay calm, pick it up, put it back in your holster, go on as though nothing ever happened. Also, no drop should facilitate a discharge. That's why it's safer for the gun to actually hit the floor than it is for you to try to catch it. If it's a good quality gun that's made well, it should be able to drop and hit the floor, and you should not have a discharge. If you do, that gun needs to go back to a manufacturer or a gunsmith as soon as possible. Okay, number 2, which is avoiding a discharge. Again, leave your gun alone. Don't play with it. Don't take it out of the holster. While you're sitting there on the toilet is not the time to start trying to twirl your gun or to check out your grips or to check out that new front sight that you put on your gun or anything. If you need something to do while going to the bathroom, bring a book. Don't play with your gun. Don't play with your knife. Don't play with your magazines. Keep it in the holster. Remember the 4 rules of gun safety. It's loaded. Obviously, if you're carrying it, it's loaded. Point it in a safe direction. Keep anything and everything out of the trigger guard. There was a story not long ago about a police officer who took his gun out of his holster while he was going to the bathroom. He hung it on the back of the coat rack, those coat racks on the back of the stall door, by the trigger guard. And when he went to retrieve it, the coat hanger hit the trigger and discharged his firearm. So keep anything and everything, including your finger and coat hooks, out of the trigger guard. Also, be sure of what your target is and what is beyond. Obviously, if you're sitting in a stall and there's a stall door here and a stall door there and you've got bathrooms on either side of you, what might be beyond that stall door is a human being. So if you're closer to the wall, your safer bet is to point it towards the wall if it has to be out of the holster. Again, it shouldn't be out of its holster. You shouldn't be messing with it, but please remember your 4 rules of gun safety. And again, dropping your firearm should not mean a discharge. If for some reason you drop your firearm or it falls out of your holster, it should not facilitate a discharge. If it does, then you need to return it to the manufacturer or have it looked at by a qualified gunsmith as soon as possible. And if you do experience a discharge for some reason, again, stay calm. Make sure that everyone is okay, that no one's hurt. Take responsibility and proceed according to law. Every state's laws are different in regards to, the aftermath of shootings and what needs to be involved. I don't know all the state's laws, but just try to progress according to law. Thirdly is avoiding detection. Again, leave your gun alone. If you're not touching it, if you're not playing with it, if you're leaving it in its holster and your holster is secure, there should be no reason why your gun should fall out of your holster. There should be no reason that you'll have a discharge, and therefore there should be absolutely no reason why it should be detected. Use your good equipment, your good holster, your good magazine carriers, your good sheath, and leave it alone. Keep your gun on your body. Don't take your gun off and put it on the toilet paper dispenser. Don't take it off and put it on the back of the toilet. Don't take it off and hang it by the coat hook. Don't take it off your body and put it anywhere, because a lot of people do end up leaving their firearms behind. It sounds kind of silly that someone would forget their firearm in the bathroom, but people forget their purses, people forget their wallets, people forget numerous things in the bathroom. It's not unheard of that you could forget your firearm. So if you don't take it off your body, you won't leave it there, and therefore you won't be detected, because no one will have to call you and say, hey, you forgot your gun in the bathroom. Or you won't have to panic and think, oh my goodness, I left my gun in the bathroom, and then have to go back and claim the firearm that you left in the bathroom. Use common sense and use good techniques. If your gun is detected, if by some chance, by some strange happenstance, again, it does fall out of the holster, because even if you have quality gear, it's not impossible that it would happen. If it falls out of your holster, or if your magazine falls out of its holster or whatever, and you end up being detected, someone looks underneath the stall and sees you or sees your gun and starts to freak out, again, first things first, stay calm. You're not doing anything wrong, or at least you shouldn't be doing anything wrong or illegal. You should be within your legal rights. Just inform them of your legal rights, saying, hey, I'm a legally armed citizen, I'm carrying. Don't try to impersonate a police officer. If someone asks you if you're a police officer, unless of course you are a police officer, then it doesn't matter. But if someone asks you, are you a police officer, don't say yes if you aren't, because that could get you in big trouble. And if they start freaking out, just leave. Don't try to stand there and make some big legal stand about it or whatever. And I know there are some certain states where the law is that concealed is concealed, and if anyone sees your gun, it can be considered brandishing. That is a very, very fine line, especially if you're just doing your business on the toilet and someone looks underneath of the stall and sees your gun. It was not any fault of your own, and I would be very hard pressed to see any kind of, or I would be surprised if any prosecutor would actually prosecute you for that. You know, by state laws, if someone were really that anxious to try and prosecute, I guess good luck, but I really don't think they'd have a legal leg to stand on for that. And if it's an employee and the employee asks you to leave, just leave. Don't make a big deal out of it. Just leave. Now, there are a few techniques that a few of us carriers who have been doing this for a while have learned along the way to help making concealed carry while using the bathroom as easy as possible, and to make sure that you avoid a drop, avoid a discharge, and avoid detection. And pretty much all of these techniques are for people who carry around the waist. Obviously, if you're carrying in a shoulder holster, you're carrying in an ankle holster or something like that, you really don't have to worry about these techniques because you really don't have to mess with your gun much to go to the bathroom. This is mostly for people who carry around the waist, which is typically where people end up carrying anyway. One of those techniques is just to know your bathrooms. If you have to go to the bathroom and you're driving down the road and you know that Subway has a bathroom that has no stalls, it's just a door and you're all to yourself and you can lock the door and you're private, as opposed to Costco, which has 16 stalls and it's very busy. Well, go the extra mile down the road and go to Subway instead of going to Costco or Walmart or wherever. Or like for instance in Walmart, a lot of times they'll have the busy restroom front, but in the back they'll have a family restroom that's private that you can shut the door and you can lock it and you're completely by yourself and you really don't have to worry about that. Knowing your bathrooms and just making wise decisions that way, unless you have to go like now, could save you a lot of hassle. That way you can drop your drawers to your ankles and you don't have to worry about anyone looking underneath the stall and seeing your gun, or if you do drop it, you don't have to worry about it bouncing into the next stall and some little kid picking it up or something. So just knowing your bathrooms can go a long way. Obviously, I can't speak on any authority from this, but from the men that I have talked to, using a urinal, you can either use a stall. Some people do, from what I hear, that instead of using the urinal, if they're carrying, they'll actually just go and use the stall. Okay? Again, from what I hear, is keep your belt buckled. If you keep your belt buckled and just use your fly, you don't have to worry about your belt coming completely undone and falling out. If you do need to unbuckle it a little bit, you can just unbuckle it to the next belt loop and then go from there. And you can keep your elbows in to help for retention. Retention from the firearm. Keeping it, of course, you don't want to rest your elbow on your gun, but just keeping your elbows in and do your business and get done. For the rest of us, who don't have to use urinals, whether it's females or you have to do something else, try to get the stall next to the wall. Again, as I mentioned before, that limits, instead of having to worry about people from all directions either looking underneath of the stall or whatever, you only have one direction that you really have to worry about. Another thing is, if by some chance you do have to take your gun off or hold it or whatever, you have a safer place to point it. Obviously, bullets can go through walls, so it's important to consider what the wall is made of and what is beyond that wall. Again, remembering your 4 rules of gun safety. If it's just a drywall wall and the kitchen is beyond that wall, there could be more people that way. So, but if it's a cinder block wall, you've got better chances. So getting a stall next to a wall is a better bet. Not the best sometimes, but better. And then, of course, make sure that your stall has a decent lock. I know plenty of people, myself included, who while sitting on the bathroom, someone just comes by, presses on the door, and it comes flying open because the lock is a piece of crap. And you're sitting there going, excuse me, and then they run off. Well, that's a great way to get your gun detected, because there you are with your gun around your knees or whatever, and someone just opens the door. There you are. So make sure that your stall has a really good lock. If you go in someplace and you try and lock it, it doesn't lock very well, go out, go to the next stall and just say, hey, lock's broken on that one. It's an easy enough thing to look for. Another technique is to keep your gun in your holster. If by some chance, if your gun is too heavy and really pulls on your pants and you absolutely must remove your gun from your pants or whatever, try to get a holster that can quick detach from your belt. So you can just take the whole holster and gun off the belt, and you don't have to worry about unthreading your entire gun from your gun and holster from your pants. If I can fix that, there you go. This way, again, if you can't play with it, if you can't get your finger in the trigger guard, that takes down your chances of a negligent discharge pretty much exponentially. And even if you drop it, it's at least protected being in the holster. So try to keep your gun in your holster. Use your knees and the pressure from your knees to keep everything up off the floor. Obviously, if you leave everything around your ankles, if someone looks underneath the stall, they can not only see your gun, but they can see your knife and everything else. If you keep things around your knees, typically stall doors go about to the middle of the shin, so or perhaps even a little bit lower. That way, no one can see what is around your waistband if you keep things around your knees. And if it's still a little too loose and flopping around and you are wearing a belt, you can tighten your belts like that, and that just keeps things a little bit tighter up around the knees, and therefore you don't have to worry about you. Another technique, and this is especially good for IWB, is to fold the edges of your gun and your magazine, your holsters, in towards your pants, so that way if someone were to look in from underneath of the stall, all they see is your pants. Everything else is folded in. You can kind of see the gun here, but again, this is an OWB. It's a little bit harder to conceal in doing this method, but you can fold your pants completely inside like that, and someone making a quick glance underneath of the stall is not going to see your gun. They're just going to see your pants and your belt. And lastly, another thing that you can do for both IWB and OWB is, again, if you must remove your firearm from your waistband, either because it's too heavy or for whatever reason, so that you do not leave it. Like I said, if you put it on the back of the toilet, if you put it on the toilet paper rack, you run the risk of accidentally leaving it there. One way to ensure that you will never leave your gun behind, and so that it's not seen, is to go ahead and sit your holstered gun right in the seat of your pants, right there. That way, if you pull up your pants, obviously your gun won't allow you to pull them all the way up, and it reminds you that your gun is there. But putting your gun inside the seat of your pants, again, if someone were to look underneath of the stall, they won't see the gun on your belt. They won't see your gun because your gun's in the seat of your pants. And if you have a knife or if you have magazines, again, you can just twist those over to the inside so that no one can see you're here. And you can hang out, you can read your magazine, you can do whatever you want to. You don't have to do the knee pressure, you don't have to keep constant pressure to keep them up to your knees. You can just relax and no one can see your gun, no one can see your magazines, no one can see your knife. And you're pretty well concealed, and you'll never forget that your gun is down there. Using quality gear, your 4 rules of safety, and common sense should be all that's necessary in order to use the bathroom without any firearms incidents.